Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the Kitty Hawk Town Council meeting to order. It's Tuesday, September 5th, 2023, 6 o'clock p.m. in the Kitty Hawk Town Hall. We've got another large turnout tonight. Thank you all for coming. Glad you're here. If you would, join us in a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. If you're able to stand, please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Council, I need a motion to approve tonight's agenda, please.
So moved.
Second. Lynn, second by Charlotte. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Agenda is approved. Public comment. Lynn, do we have anyone signed up for public comment?
Yes, sir. Greg Hamby.
Okay, come on up, Mr. Hamby. And everyone, please limit your comments to 3 minutes and speak directly into the mic so we can pick up your conversation there.
All right.
Thank
fine.
you.
I see that. Yeah, I am here. I've asked DOT if they would lower the speed limit from at least a foot of the Wright Memorial Bridge all the way to the big traffic light where you turn to go to Corolla. I come out from Barlow Lane onto 158. Everybody and his brother is running that red light coming off the bridge. They're running the next one too, and the next one, and the next one. Everybody wants to go 60 miles an hour down there. Every other day I hear sirens coming up to that road there where somebody is cracking it up. There's too many traffic lights along there, too many businesses, just as it is over in Currituck, for people to be going, if the speed limit's 50, they're going 60. And they need to slow down and give us a chance to just get out on the road. Not to mention people in Martins Point. They got a whole other world going there with trying to turn left coming out of there because people don't want to stop going to the bridge. I would ask that they drop the speed limit to 45 miles an hour coming off the rise in the bridge, put up some signs that say 45 mile an hour speed limit, a flashing sign if you got to have one, and kind of it's I moved here in 1976 and didn't need any of that stuff, but there's a lot of people here now, and they are just going too fast, and they are not paying attention to the traffic signals, and it's just it's dangerous almost. You do not take a green light for granted at Barlow Lane, and neither do the people coming from out of Martins Point. You better make sure. I'm looking at it here. I got the green light. You better make sure they're actually going to stop, because they don't. And this is heavy trucks too. This dump trucks, 18-wheelers, and little itty-bitty cars. Everybody is just running it, and then when you pull out and you're just trying to get up to 50 miles an hour, next thing you know, the people coming off the bridge in your rearview mirror, they're right on your tail. I mean, they're just, I know they want to get here and have fun, but it needs to be, it's just too much traffic now to have what is the current situation. And DOT told me that if the town of Kitty Hawk would go with, tell them that they'd like to have this done, that they'll do it. So I would request that if you all would, we could get something done before the next season comes around. And of course, it's just as bad in the off season. And I appreciate y'all listening to me.
Thank you, Mr. Hamby.
Thank you, Greg.
And that is a DOT decision, not the town of Kitty Hawk, just so you'll be aware. Lynn, anyone else signed up?
No one else has signed up for public comment.
Is anyone here who would like to speak at public comment about any topic tonight? Anyone? Okay, let the record show no one chose to speak. Council, I need a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda, please.
So moved.
Motion made by Charlotte, second.
Second.
Second by Lynn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed. We had no items removed from the consent agenda. Item 7A, public hearing for some text amendments about minimum lot size coverage calculations. Rob, if you'd come up, please. Council, I need a motion that we go into public hearing.
So moved.
Motion made by David and Jeff.
Second. I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. We're in public hearing. Good, Rob.
So the application received would change, it proposed to change the definition in section 42-1 of minimum lot size. As proposed, it would say minimum lot size means the minimum lot area as required by various zoning districts, marsh and wetlands areas as determined by federal, state, and local agency regulations may not be used for the minimum lot size. Currently, when subdividing new lots in Kitty Hawk, CAMA or CRC wetlands cannot be counted towards the minimum lot size. However, other wetlands, such as 404 wetlands, can be counted towards the minimum lot size. The proposed amendment would treat all wetlands consistently, not allow any wetlands to be counted towards the minimum lot size. So most of our typical residential minimum lot size is 15,000 square feet, so you'd have to have 15,000 square feet of upland area as proposed. Should be noted that a recent U.S. Supreme Court decision has dictated a change as to what might be considered jurisdictional wetlands at the federal level. The Army Corps of Engineers is, last I heard, still waiting on guidance on how they're going to proceed with that. Additional concerns have been raised that if it's proposed or approved as proposed, it may encourage a developer to get a fill permit from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and fill the maximum amount allowable wetlands prior to coming in for a subdivision application, or if it's wetlands that is no longer, jurisdictional under the Clean Waters Act, could fill a greater extent before coming in to apply for subdivision approval. But I guess I will note that if it's not under the Army Corps of Engineers jurisdiction now, there'd be nothing stopping them from filling, even if they're not planning on subdividing. I've noted in the staff report that if council does wish to approve the text amendment, there are a number of other amendments in the different zoning districts that would have to be changed just to keep it consistent, where it reflects the minimum lot size for the BR1, BR2, and so on. The planning board, they recommended denial of the vote of 3-2 at their July meeting. With that, I will further any questions from council for me. And then
Council.
the applicant is on hand for any questions for them as well.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Rob. Before we ask for any speakers, Council, do you have any questions of Rob pertaining to this matter?
I do. Rob, who determines the difference between CAMA, Corps of Engineers, and 404? Who flags that
So
property?
404, that is the Army Corps of Engineers. I think typically a surveyor would have it delineated. If there's thought that it's the 404 wetlands, they would submit that to the field rep, where they'd have them come out and field verify. CAMA field reps, they've got their own methods, different vegetation they look for to determine if it's the CAMA wetlands.
So it will be a state agency
Yeah,
that
it would
will
not
make
be-
it, or it won't be a private either, that,
Right, if it's a private survey or something, then the agencies would verify what they
okay.
showed.
The final say will be through a state or federal agency.
Right.
Okay.
I also have a comment.
Go ahead,
Question.
Dave.
So let me ask you this, if you have two lots, for example, that are 15,000 square foot is the minimum, correct? So if you have two lots, let's just say they're 14,100 square feet times two. You can get a fill permit for that 10th, correct? So would that work for that? So would that would this zoning change prevent that scenario from occurring?
Don't believe so, because they could get the fill permit before they even came in for the subdivision application.
Right, so it would not affect, this amendment would not affect that scenario, right?
Right, if I understood correctly, yeah.
Right. In other words, You have two, you have a lot that's 15,000 square foot, feet, and one of them is 14,100, and the other 900 is wet. 404 Army Corps wet.
Right, they would have to, the way it's proposed, they would have to get the fill permit in place or do the filling before coming in for the subdivision application, because they would have to show that they meet the 15,000 square foot of upland area.
Right, but you understand, I guess what I'm asking is, that's what we're talking about tonight, is this text amendment is not going to affect that small lot owner guy.
Right.
It already, this lot already exists?
No,
No.
hypothetically speaking.
It's going to be in the subdivision?
Okay. All right, that's it for me.
Thank you. Case, I see you shaking your head, that's correct? Right, okay.
I agree with what Rob has stated based on what David
Can I
has.
get just a clarification? So what I understand you're saying, David and Rob, that everybody's allowed to a certain percentage of the fill on the 404, and what we're doing now, if somebody does have a little section that under their legal permit right now, they could fill it and add it to make their 1,500 square feet, so they would have enough, as long as they're under the whatever.
If it's the 404 wetlands, the Army Corps jurisdiction, they could get a nationwide permit to fill a tenth of an acre.
Okay.
And like I said, if they do that prior to coming in for the subdivision application, and did the fill to show that they have 15,000 square feet of uplands under this proposal, then it would be fine.
Okay,
If they submitted an application that still said, 14,000 square feet of uplands and 1,000 square feet of wetlands, then I would have to, it wouldn't get approved, but they could go do that process and come back and it would.
That's kind
But
of,
once it occurs, Rob, there's no look back for your review purposes as to what existed prior to that initial fill occurring, right? There's no look back to that whatsoever.
And those permits are given out by a state or federal, that's not up to us. We don't have a
Right,
jurisdiction
we're
on
talking about
that,
the
correct?
404 wetlands, that's Army Corps of Engineers.
Right, and so we're not stopping anybody from filling any land that they're already allowed by the federal, is what I'm getting that Dave's trying to relay to me
Right.
and us.
I just don't want to have a negative impact on
Okay, all right.
somebody that's
Okay.
trying to just do one lot.
I got you, okay.
Charlotte, any questions? Lynn? Okay. Is anyone here tonight would like to speak on this topic in this public hearing section? You have 5 minutes to speak. Anybody would like to come up and speak?
Mark Perry.
All right, come on up, Mr. Perry. Public hearing is 5 minutes.
Good evening, council.
Good evening.
Man, I was gonna read y'all all this mess, but I've already sent it to you, you've already read it. The point of this text amendment is, right now, the way the rules read in this town is you can take a piece of land with a ton of wetlands on it, overlay a grid of 15,000 square foot lots, right? And then you can get a nationwide 18 permit and fill 1/10 of an acre on each one of those lots. That's what this aims to stop. Now, you get a nationwide 18, you can fill 1/10 of an acre. But if you got 3 acres, you can fill 1/10 of an acre, right? So if you've got 3 acres and there's 29,000 square feet of uplands, right? You can get 2 lots out of that. You can cut it, and what you can't do is go in and fill 30 lots on a tract of wetlands, 1/10 of an acre on every lot. Does that make sense? This, man, I have spent more time on this mess, and I can complain and I can do whatever, but if you get what I'm saying, it makes sense. It's fiscally responsible for the town. I mean, the wetlands we have left are free infrastructure. Other states are having to buy wetlands from people for stormwater to go places. Our town is getting rated one of the best beaches of the seaside town because the village maintains its field. The density's coming. We've seen what's happened to our friends in Wanchese, our friends in Kildover Hills. We've lost a friend and a legend in our recreational waters this year because of bad water. Maybe it's naturally occurring, but they've just changed the septic rules where you can put a septic within 15 feet of a well. So those wetlands overflow during storms. The 404s are the adjacent and some of the isolated. I'm trying to be gross here, but if the land keeps settling and the water comes up, We don't wanna be sweeping crap under the rug. I mean, we sit down for dinner, ask, what's that smell? You know what I mean? It's just, it's a lot of, there's just a lot of density, and we're just trying to say, hey, let's develop responsibly. It doesn't affect people's property rights. It doesn't keep people from filling. It doesn't keep them from subdividing. If it's legal, you can do it. But what it does keep is irresponsible development and tons of density. Do y'all have any questions for me about this?
Thanks for your emails too, Rob. I mean,
Yeah.
Mark, excuse me. Thanks for your emails.
Thank you, they were thoughtful and
Yes.
very,
Okay. And Ms. Lynn, I know that you are stepping down, so I don't know if you're allowed to do this, but we got a lot of citizens. Can we give Ms. Lynn a hand for?
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark. Anyone else would like to speak during this public hearing section?
Yes, sir. Jamie Hines,
Come on up, Jamie.
Oh, that's a face from the past.
I'm not as good as Mark Perry at speaking from the heart, so I had to write mine down for y'all this evening. But anyway, I'm here in support of the text amendment as well. So good evening, Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of the council. I want to thank you for your time and consideration of the text amendment that has been submitted to you. I also want to thank each person who's shown up this evening in support. Some of you may have heard the phrase, "it takes a village," as a means of saying the community comes together to help one another. Well, tonight, it appears it takes a village to save the village. As some of you may know, my name is Jamie Hines. I'm a lifelong resident and native of Kitty Hawk. My family's lineage dates back over 7 generations and 200 plus years in this town. My family and I have always loved Kitty Hawk and supported its well-being, which is why I'm here tonight to express what I feel is in the best interest of Kitty Hawk and what the people of Kitty Hawk want. In July of this year, we submitted a text amendment to the town to help alleviate the over-densification of our town, which leads to the destruction of the natural landscape, resources, and wetlands. This issue was brought to light and magnified when we were informed of a large subdivision the developer may be proposing near the area of Brenda Lane. There are also several other large tracts of land that may become susceptible to this development if our amendment is not passed. This text amendment proposes to exclude all wetlands from the minimum lot size. This proposal does not seek to redefine the definition of lot area, which would have an impact on existing lot coverage calculations throughout the town. The proposed revision would only be for the definition of minimum lot size for newly proposed lots. I know there's been some opposition against this text amendment, which was fully anticipated. As you can see by the turnout in support of the text amendment tonight, I think you know and understand what the people of this town want to see. We want to maintain our village and keep it from becoming like several other communities in our area that have overbuilt, overdeveloped, and destroyed the beauty that we have all been attracted to for so many years. As you decide to vote for or against this text amendment, I want to ask each one of you to consider what you love most about Kitty Hawk and what attracts you to this place and what keeps you living here. I know that for most of us, we love the beauty of the town, the fact that we still have a small town feel, and that we aren't all living on top of one another. We also want to be able to maintain this feel for the future generations to come. Please remember that what you vote matters to us, and when you're seated in the position of mayor or council, your vote should be for the people and not for anyone's personal interest or that of a special interest group. We as citizens of Kitty Hawk refuse to allow this overdevelopment and densification to occur. We are here asking for your help and consideration in passing this text amendment as a simple solution to keep what we the people see is best for Kitty Hawk. Thank you.
Hell yeah, brother.
Lynn, has anyone else signed up to speak public hearing?
Wade Tillett, Raleigh.
Come on up, Wade.
This a little while ago. Hey, thank you all for letting me speak. My name's Wade Tillett. I'm a native of Kitty Hawk Village, North Carolina. Can you hear this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Born and raised here, and I really appreciate y'all's time. I'm a septic contractor for the state of North Carolina, for the whole eastern North Carolina region. And I do I am for development, but to me, there's two developments. You got respectable development, and you got greedy development. You know, my house, I wouldn't have my house or my lot if a developer didn't subdivide this piece of land that I'm on. And I wouldn't have a contractor or a builder if I didn't have a house to sleep in. So I'm for them, but in the same breath, we gotta walk a line on greed and respectability. You know, I don't see any problem with developing land. I mean, I don't like it. I'm the most outdoors person in the world. I tell you, if I could make a living off of water or woods, I'd be doing it to it. But I look at riding down the beach road and riding down with my babies. I got 4 beautiful babies, and I got an amazing wife. And riding down Kitty Hawk Beach, it's amazing. Still got a lot of the old cottages. You start hitting the Kid of the Hills kind of area, and you got these mini motels and all. And development's coming, whether we like it or not. But we just need to put a leash on it to an extent. You know, just to an extent. I'm not saying never build another house again. Don't get me wrong. But this island is special. We're not up in Virginia Beach. We're not down in Myrtle Beach. We're not down in Wilmington. We're an island. You got water right here. You got water right here. We're only so big, and we're running out of good lots. That's what it boils down to. And now everybody wants to put a house on a marsh dust that a deer won't even sleep on. You know, it's the truth. It's the truth, and it's frustrating to me because I've done a lot of work for some really good. I pick and choose who I work for, and I tell them no, I won't do that job. He said, well, wait, somebody else will, and I say, well, there it goes. I don't care. You know, it's as far as it goes. And getting back to the septic world, this water is coming up. I don't care what anybody says. This water is coming up. I work hand in hand with the health department every single day. I mean, some of my good friends are in there. And we sit there and looking at the permits from the 60s, 70s, you know, that's getting back there. But even the 80s and early 90s, this stuff is coming up. And I sit there and I was reading an article, me and Chelsea, my wife, and we read before we go to bed, because I tell you, if y'all have any kids, bedtime, bath time, bedtime stories, good gracious, I go to work, get rest. But we sit there, we'll be reading, and I get all this junk mail, you know, having my license, we get all this just junk mail. I was reading an article, and an oak tree that's 24 inches in diameter, that's across at the base. That's a big ass tree. But we sit there, it can drink in the middle of August, middle of August, can drink almost up to 500 gallons a day in one day. So you times that by roughly 30 days a month. That's a lot of water. Well, you chop that tree down, you know, I don't know. And then too, we got city water. You know, we're steadily putting water in the ground through septic systems, but we don't have wells anymore. We're not pulling water out. You know, and it's hard to do it. And another thing kind of hits a nerve on me too is these daggone Airbnb rentals. I don't want to cuss them at all, but you know, like all y'all, we're in the public's eye every single day, trying to say the right thing, trying to please people, trying to convince people stuff, trying to do this. I tell you, when I get to my house, I want to crawl in a hole. I mean, I just don't want to see a soul. You know, my wife, she loves the beach, but I just want to hop in my privateer and get out and sound. Well, I don't want to hear a mouse fart. And we're sitting there, you know, it's amazing. I don't know why somebody would ever want to have a little hut of a stranger in his front yard, backyard, side yard. What, you know, anyway, getting to it. And then, like somebody was saying a minute ago, talking about the water. I was raised in the water. I learned to swim before I think I was even born. But it's neat, and to hear this flesh-eating virus or whatever. You know, well, if you think about it, our water table, anything in here is within inches or feet of the water table. Septic system, creosote pilings, salt-treated pilings, and all that stuff. It's a damn wonder we can even eat a fish out here, if you really think about it. You know, and it's just a mess. I took my daddy and a bunch of little boys dove hunting this weekend. Oh, am I cutting off? Yes, sir. Oh, anyway, well, I thank you all.
Thank you, Wayne. Lynn, anyone else signed up to speak?
Craig Tillett.
You want the rest of my hat?
Hello, council. I hadn't done this since high school. I had to write it down a little bit here. I was raised here, born and raised, along with Jeff, and we had a hell of a good time being raised here. And I want to kind of keep it somewhat like that, but it's getting harder to do that. Kids can't even ride their bikes down the road no more for the traffic, because we're getting so intense building. And I know we got to have progress, like Wade said. I support adopting the amendment. We need to stop allowing buildings being put in wetlands and septic put in the highlands, which I've seen numerous houses all through Kitty Hawk being done, have been done like that. Let's try to increase lot size to accommodate, keep from getting so intense in Kitty Hawk Village. Do we want Kitty Hawk to be another Collington? If you took a ride back to Collington, you know what a mess that is. Let's try to keep Kitty Hawk a quaint village for our grandkids. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lynn,
Andrea Wendell
come on up, ma'am.
and daughter Violet.
Good evening, y'all. I did send an email out over the weekend referencing an article that I came across randomly in my Google News feed that spoke of Kitty Hawk as being one of the best places to vacation because it is one of the oldest communities in the Outer Banks, and the original village has retained much of its charm and today remains a laid-back vacation destination. I totally agree with Mark and what he is trying to propose here today. I am not lucky enough to be a native of the village. I grew up in Currituck, and I would like to mention that tonight Currituck is voting on a very similar issue, and Currituck has way more land than we do, and they've got to a point where they said it's going to be too much. It's too much. Excuse me, I'm getting a little emotional here. But my husband and I specifically, we've lived here for 15 years. We chose the village for its feel, for its sense of community, its lack of overdevelopment. Like I said, I grew up in Currituck. It was important for me to give my kids the best of both worlds, to be able to live at the beach, but grow up like I did in Currituck, to be able to ride their bike to their friend's house, to go fish in the creek by their house, crab right down the street. We have chickens, we have goats, we have all kinds of animals on our land. And we are lucky to be sheltered where we are in the village, and I'm not saying development is wrong at all. I have friends that like Wade and Dana who all support themselves with this, but we have to be responsible on what we're doing. And just to go back to the last meeting with the residents of Kitty Hawk Landing, the sound beaches being closed, the flooding that they're having back here, if we can't put the pieces together to see that filling these wetlands is destroying what we have, and we want to pump the brakes as a village and say we want to decide when too much is too much. I just want to give you a couple of quotes from the '89 land use plan that I read over, and I feel like it still rings true today with people that live in the village saying that, sorry, let's see. Policies should protect environment and allow guided growth. And I think that's the biggest come out of this. And in 1989, if they thought of that then, we certainly don't want to be our neighbors in Kildare Hills. We don't want to be Collington and have our sound beaches closed for the entirety of the season and not let our kids go in the water. And thank you all for your service and your time. Thank you, Ms. McLean, for responding to my email and my daughter's email as well. I appreciate that. I know it was the holiday. So that is all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Young lady, what was your name?
Violet.
No.
Violet.
All right. Thank you for coming tonight. And when you get to school tomorrow, tell your teacher to give you some extra points for coming to a government meeting, okay? Thank you very much. All right, Lynn?
Amy Wells.
Come on up, Miss Amy.
I feel like I've been here in Town Hall a lot recently. So, but I never felt like I needed to come very much in the past. And I grew up here and been here a long time. But I always felt like our council, Kitty Hawk, had a lot of old timers and Kitty Hawk natives, and they did a lot to protect our village and follow our land use plan and protect our resources and better the community and allow development too. So it was a good mix, and I think the article that the lady just mentioned about Kitty Hawk being one of the most popular or one of the best places to take a family vacation, I think that says volumes about what our councils in the past have done. I've watched them ruin Kildare Hills, Collington, and I don't want them to ruin, or I don't want us to ruin Kitty Hawk. So I've sent plenty of emails, and I'm sorry if I've done too many, but it's important to me, and so that's why I'm here. And also, I just wanted to let you know that because we feel like maybe the citizens need just maybe more of a voice, or at least some place to go if they have concerns, so it's not just all on you. I wanted to give to you articles of incorporation from the Secretary of State to, we have a nonprofit that will be the Kitty Hawk Civic Association. It'll take me a little while to get everything together, but I've got the paperwork done. So thank you so much for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
Lynn?
Jesse Hines.
Come on up, Mr. Jesse.
Thank you guys very much. Thank you for hearing us all. It sounds like the heart here is that everybody loves Kitty Hawk, and I know y'all do too, and it really is a special place. I mean, Outer Banks is a special place, but I feel like Kitty Hawk, it just has that old-time feel of just looking at that picture, and the Sand Dunes, it just kind of, it embodies what the Outer Banks is to me. I moved here as a young boy, about 9, then my wife and I built a house in Kitty Hawk in 2006. And man, it's just a special place. We have trees, and we're not surrounded by people, and that's why people want to live in this town. And so what Mark and everybody else is here to do is to prevent too many houses too close together. And again, the resounding voice here is that everybody, we all survive off development. I don't build things for a living, but I survive off tourists coming here, and they have to stay in the house here. So we need things built here, but again, what we're trying to do is protect a very fragile environment here in Kitty Hawk from just being overdeveloped and just, again, just being sensible about what we're doing and really think about some of the fragile wetlands that we have and so on and so forth. And I think it was about 10 years ago that there was a similar development that was going behind Corinda Lane, which is right behind my house. That is why I am here mainly, because I do not want to see 35 homes right behind my house. And we live on the other side of the creek there, and there's 6 houses down our road. So the rumor has it that there could be over 30 houses in the same stretch of land right behind my house. So that's 24 more houses. Everybody has 2 cars. Everybody's got dogs, so just think about that's 60 cars, however many people, 120 people, and we also live on a blind curve right there, which is pretty dangerous. My son almost got hit by a car just because of the blind curve there. And that's just going to be more traffic and so on and so forth, and the wetland zone. After Irene, it used to be a little creek behind our house. Now it is like it's not a river, that's an exaggeration, but all I've seen the water do is rise behind our house. And there's no development happening behind our house yet. So I can't imagine if they did take that 26 acres or whatever it is and just mow it down and push it over, there'd be nowhere for the water to go, and it would eventually come in my yard and everybody's yard around that. So again, I think it would be great if there was a few homes back there, or 6, or somebody. Obviously that's not profitable, but I think what Wade was trying to say is there's development and there's greed, and we're here to, and I know you guys have the big decision to make, but so I hate that it lies in your hands, but that's what you signed up for. And so we're encouraging you guys to really consider the citizens, and not so much the money and the greed. And I think there's enough of that in the world. We're all guilty of it, but I think we can stop something that's not sensible in that sort of arena. So thank y'all so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Lynn?
Jimmy Scarborough.
Well, the last thing I want to do is stand up here and talk in front of everybody. Evidently, I'm the enemy. I too am a native, and I'm here representing 2 families, the Luarks and the Scarboroughs. And I happen to be a landowner in Kitty Hawk. We only own 28 acres all total. I live on a piece. My daughter's going to live on a piece. And then we own the 26 acres that everybody's so worried about being developed. If you had ever walked that property, you would have been amazed at how much high ground there is in there. Also, several things have been said that are incorrect about that development. The houses to the east only come halfway down. We own that much further beyond them, down into the borderline. Nothing's going to be bulldozed and pushed over. Land will be cleared for the road. Land will be cleared around the houses. However, each person that buys the lots will so desire. I guess the 404 wetlands law is the vehicle that they're trying to kill this development. It's not going to go away. The land's going to sell, and they're going to develop it. It's all up to Kitty Hawk and the developer and y'all, whatever y'all approve on how many houses will go in there. But it's not 35. The man, I've seen the plat, and he has 30 homes set in there. That's what it is. Now, I want to talk about the 404 wetlands law. It's wide open right now. You can use that as your square footage. There are a number of spots that may be either isolated wetlands or 404 wetlands on that property. And I was surprised that you didn't define the 404 wetlands, exactly what it is, but it's a small pocket. Like if I had a pocket in my yard that was low, it's a small pocket that has to have aquatic grasses in it, but more or less a very small pond, right, that doesn't connect to any ditch. There's nothing in this thing that's going to send water to the ditch in front, to the east or to the west. It will be a very nice development. Yes, it would be better, it would be nicer if it wasn't so expensive to put in the water, road to state specifications and all that. It's very expensive to do all that with the road and the water and everything. So the developers want to cut up the lot sizes and make them smaller and fit more. But in this case, they could legally go to 33 on a dead-end road. The man's asking for 30, not 33. I know there's a curve in there that the town of Kitty Hawk is not going to like. And I've been through this process about 5 times. They're going to bump houses off there, so it's not even going to be 30, it's going to be less than that. I looked at the taxes very quickly before I came up here. We've paid about $40,000 approximately to Kitty Hawk in the last 40 plus years, and we have not developed this land. Now, I know nothing about any of this 3 days ago, and I don't know so much about it now because I don't work in this kind of thing. But the sewer is not going to be running off the hills and down into the ditch and at everybody else's house. There's plenty of high ground there. I would ask you that the 404 wetlands has been wide open. You can count it as lot size. And I understand that there are some problems in Kitty Hawk. I've seen them, right? And I'm not here to discuss those. I don't know how you folks will resolve those issues, but houses built in the swamp is no good. But that's not what this is. And if I could walk you on the land, you'd be like, this is the prettiest land in Kitty Hawk. Ask Jeff. He knows. He's been on it with me. I'm hoping that this land will develop and you know, I know, I grew up in Duck, and the people that moved in up there worked with my dad at a fire company. And the minute they got in, they wanted to blow the bridges up and not let anybody else come across there, and they were immediately locals. And I've lived in Hawaii, same thing. That's how it went. The 404 law, and right now the door's open. You can use the whole thing. I would ask you to pass a law that finds middle ground. Let 50% of the time, 50% of the wetlands count, and 59. That would be a half step.
Your time's up, Mr. Scarborough.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else, Lynn?
No one else has signed up.
Is there anyone else would like to speak at this public hearing? Come on up, sir. Please state your name, sir.
Eric Reese. I live on 4147 Bob Perry Road.
Okay.
And I've been there for about 10 years. Before that, I was in Collington, so I'm familiar with a lot of the problems that were in Collington. All my kids were born, or Tina and I's kids were born in a house in Collington. So this place is obviously very special to us. As you can tell probably from my accent, I did not grow up here like a lot of the speakers. And like Mark, though, I do care a lot about my spot and at large our area. And to wit, you guys, thank you for your service. I know this in particular is a difficult thing to face. A lot of folks that care deeply, and you're getting pressure from the other side, which is the money involved. And I spent 20 some odd years in Killdeer Hills running a fairly good-sized business. So I came up in front of the town quite a bit, often in these kind of contentious situations. And my only advice, if I could, I am in support of Mark Perry's amendment, but my only advice to you is y'all live here. And in years to come, a lot of people have said, you know, you can't fight the money. It's coming down, development's coming down. True. But unlike some of the other towns, you have an opportunity to extend the bliss that the people that grew up here, and now our kids, Andre's kids, a lot of the kids that are getting a very unusual experience in America these days. And with the suburbanification of everywhere in America looking exactly alike, having the Target, the Five Below, the Marshalls, the things you can get anywhere in the States, you can't get the wetlands. You can't get a lot of the things that we have, that we see every day and take for granted. I grew up in a highly urban area in one of the biggest cities in America. And what we have here, I want to live in the Kitty Hawk that Wade Tillett grew up in, actually. And I'm jealous. And my kids are getting a half step of that, but still it's a huge step more than other people. And I realize that in the last couple of years, we've all seen an inflection point happening in the Outer Banks, and the amount of things have changed. And the amount of money, if anybody is involved in real estate at all, knows that things changed about pandemic time. And there's now a lot of pressure on people that may love to visit, may even love a second or a third or a fourth home here, but in January, it's probably just going to be the people in this room. And you'll see us at the grocery store, at the post office, at the beach, everywhere. So I just want you guys to take a minute before you vote on that and really think about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rankin. Lynn?
Violet Wendell.
Hi, it's me again. I would just like to say, I get a little nervous. Living in Kitty Hawk is a real treat. I would hate to see many of the places that I've grown up with gone, in houses that people were in, and just they go back to their houses where they live, and how they can just stay here and then they go home, and how the places that I have in my heart are gone, because I have been back here for as long as I can remember. I loved it here. We have a swamp right by our house, and they were talking about how the water rises, and when the winds pick up, the water rises so much higher. And I'm just thinking of houses, how someone can stay here and the water just rides right up. I mean, sometimes it could get so high that it goes up to your door. Especially if there's like a big old strong hurricane that hits. I've gone crabbing, I've been kayaking, I have, thank you.
Pass them around.
I have lived here my whole life. I've loved it here, and I would just like to say that if you built houses here, how tough it would be on the traffic, and Ms. Lynn, as I've said in my emails to you, how hard it would be to get to school because of how busy the traffic is. As you remember last year, the road work on the road by Kildover Hills, right by the school, how hard it was to get there. I remember some days I was like, it's so late that I've gotten so many tardies last year, and how it would be hard for kids that live back at the landing to get to school. How they would be stuck in the traffic. And how hard it would be to lose those places that I hold so close in my heart. Sorry. And I do support the text amendment that Mark Perry has laid out, and that is all I have to say.
Now, before you leave, don't leave, okay? I'm not taking sides here, and this has nothing to do with you being in favor or against this text amendment. I can't tell you how proud I am of you.
Absolutely.
For the courage. I'm a lot older than you, girl, and there are times I don't feel comfortable with it either, but you have done an outstanding job. Proud of you, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else sign up to speak, Lynn?
No, sir, that is all.
Okay. I have an email I've been asked to read into the minutes tonight while we're in public hearing, and I'll read that now. Mayor and Town Council members, I am not able to attend tonight's Town Council meeting, but I'd like to share with you my thoughts with respect to the proposal to prohibit wetlands from being included in new subdivision minimum lot area. A recent court case apparently reduces wetland areas subject to regulation under the Clean Water Act. The impact of the court finding on sub-wetlands, which may have been considered for inclusion in subdivision lots, is obscure. The logic is a bit convoluted, but I understand the planning board discussed during their deliberations that it is possible and maybe even probable that the adoption of the proposed regulation will result in additional wetlands being filled, and in some cases without apparent impact on the sizes or number of lots in a proposed subdivision. I ask that the proposed total prohibition on inclusion of wetlands and minimum lot area of new subdivisions be denied. Consideration of a wetland on wetland areas that may be part of minimum lot area in new subdivisions may be appropriate in the future after current changes to the wetlands under regulation of the Clean Water Act are resolved. That is from Mr. Ralph Caffey. Council, any more discussion during public hearing? If not, I'll entertain a motion to leave public hearing to go back into regular session.
Second.
So moved.
Thank you, David and Lynn. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay, council, you've heard a lot of discussions, a lot of speakers here tonight. You've heard from Rob. Any discussion? What would you like to do in this matter?
Can I ask one question?
Sure.
This, you have, excuse me, Rob, you outlined a couple other places where change would have to be made. Is that going to have to come back up before us?
No, it's included in the staff report. It was part of the. what was
Okay,
presented to the
so
planning board.
it's all for one and none for all.
Yep.
If it's passed, it's done.
Yeah, if it passes, if it doesn't, nothing's touched.
Correct.
But it doesn't have to be revisited.
Right.
Thank you.
Any more discussion, council? No discussion? Council, I would like to make the following motion. I move to approve the proposed text amendment to the definition of minimum lot size, section 42-1, and relevant district regulations as presented in this staff report. Town Council has found this proposal to be consistent with the town's adopted land use plan. Waiting for a second.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to second that.
We have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion has carried. Okay, item 7B, I need a motion to go back into public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Second moved by David, second by Lynn. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're back in public hearing, reference to land use plan update.
As you're all aware, over the past about almost a year now, we've been working with Stewart Incorporated, updating our town land use plan. The last revision was done in 2004, so I think this one nearly 20 years later was kind of due. We have some representatives from Stewart here who she will run you through a quick presentation. We are asking tonight for a vote on approval of the plan to act as our comprehensive plan. I'll turn it over to Becca here.
And Rob, I know you and a lot of people have worked hard on this matter. Thank you.
Yes, I think she'll cover some of the public engagement and all that.
Yes.
Absolutely. First, I'd like to thank you all for hearing us out tonight and for the town of Kitty Hawk for being present in all public engagement for the plan itself. I'm excited to share what the plan all entails, and if anyone needs a hard copy, I have one with me because it's about like 150 pages long. But there's a
You do have others? You do have more?
I have one with me, and I know that Rob has a link to the one online. If you'd like this one in front of you.
I just wondered if it was able to obtain it. We can.
Yes, it should be on the website. Okay. Okay. Okay, so first, just an introduction. So Stewart, our company, is located and based out of Raleigh, but we have been working in all different coastal communities, whether it is towns or counties. So we're very familiar with the CAMA land use plan process. So currently, a comprehensive plan is really a community conversation about shared values and a vision. Specifically, it is a guiding document for any land use decisions that may come forward. So we're looking at any identified priorities, any identified community concerns, and writing recommendations based on those. So specifically, a CAMA plan, which is any of your coastal counties, any coastal communities, is required by the state and the Coastal Resource Commission. So we're looking at public access, we're looking at infrastructure carrying capacity, land use compatibility, as well as natural hazards and water quality. So currently, we are at the very end of our process looking for public adoption, and further after any sort of motion tonight, this plan would be sent to the CRC Commission for an assessment of basically making sure that everything that the CRC requires of the plan is there. They'll make any edits or suggestions of how data should be used, typically more of the environmental side. So going into public engagement, here we go, the next one. So we had numerous staff meetings held here in Kitty Hawk, as well as virtual meetings to keep an updated timeline with Rob and any other staff members. Our first meeting that we held was a public open house back in November, where we spoke and just had a candid conversation with residents about their experiences, any issues that they're having, things that they're noticing in their community, things that they want in their community, and also just kind of their priorities of projects that they want to see. We did open up a community survey where we got almost 300 responses, and it was open from December or mid-December to mid-January of this year. And those responses were great. We had some great open response questions, and we also have all those responses kind of integrated throughout the plan, and they help shape a lot of the vision and the goals and all of our priorities. Following, we had a public meeting on February 7th, which looked at those draft goals that the survey results crafted, as well as the vision where we got public input on what goals were truly important to the community. So then public meeting number 3, we actually had a draft plan rollout for anyone to look at, and that's been on the town website since then. So overall, from the public meetings, we've seen a top theme of people want their low-key coastal village. They are community residents, and they are passionate about that. They want more recreation opportunities. They want facilities for the seniors, for the youth, for anyone of all ages. There's some opportunity areas that may come in the form of a welcome center or a town hall, and just increasing any sort of community facility. People are really concerned about housing and the character of such housing, as well as flooding and storms. So we do have some edits from the May public meeting where we did initially send out the draft. We had some future land use map edits. We also had an increased support for pervious pavement options, and also multi-use paths along 158 and Kitty Hawk Road. There were also comments about affordable and workforce housing recommendations, so some edits have been made there. There have also been a couple of grammatical edits that have been made since then as well. So as for plan organization, we really go into how we're talking about the plan. We give a rundown of exactly what the plan is, because unfortunately anyone just reading the plan online doesn't have someone just reading out to them what all it is. We do go into a community assessment where we're looking at the existing conditions of Kitty Hawk. All of the topics that we're going to cover in the form of recommendations, we're going to talk about what already exists there. So we give a good background of everything that we are recommending. We then talk about the input, vision, and goals itself, and go into truly anything and everything in the plan, as well as a large appendix of documents. So starting with the draft vision, the vision was something that I felt very strongly about by the planning board and as well as residents when they came here for any meeting. So we were looking and we kind of came across our draft vision after many rounds of edits of the town of Kitty Hawk is a community-focused, family-oriented, low-key Outer Banks village that prioritizes enhancing natural resources, preserving history, and improving resiliency. We strive to balance the needs of Kitty Hawk's year-round residents and visitors while improving everyday coastal living. I think that may have been the 45th edit of that document to make sure we covered everything. So some of the draft goals we have, really they're all separated into those CAMA land use topics. So we're looking at public access, so giving public access to our water bodies, whether it's the ocean, whether it's the sound, or any creeks or anything. Also going into land use compatibility, where we are still preserving those waters and working around them to make sure that future generations have the ability to use them. We're looking at reinforcing Kitty Hawk's unique value and their coastal identity that they're very passionate about, as I see tonight. So also looking at protecting maritime forests and floodplains and marshes and wetlands. It's really important for the biodiversity in the area. Furthermore, with the infrastructure carrying capacity, we have already gotten a jump start on this goal as well using the Resilient Coastal Communities Program grant. So I'll talk more about that later, but that's really ensuring that public infrastructure facilities are improved to provide high quality service to existing development. We're looking more into natural hazards and water quality, and we address multiple local concerns that were brought up as well that don't necessarily fall into those categories. So going into our future land use map, this map is slightly different than a normal future land use map, which says, hey, commercial here, hey, an office industrial here, residential here. We really looked at the quality of development in the area and where development could occur in the future. So this is going to be used to provide general land use guidance in any future rezonings, in any future land use decisions, as well as just guiding anything that Rob or anyone after Rob may use in this capacity. So just a reminder, this is policy, not regulatory, and can influence the regulatory changes. So this map itself was created by giving in a couple of inputs, one of which was our 2-foot sea level rise, as you see here in pink. So it's kind of one of the areas that we saw as an environmental hazard. It was an environmental concern to the area. So we want to make sure that we're not putting out crazy development in somewhere that could be inundated in the next couple tens of years. We also looked at wetlands, existing land use, and flood risk. And I think our next one shows our wetlands map as well. And I know you guys have talked a bunch on wetlands tonight, so I won't harp on it more. But we do have 5 character areas. We have invest and improve, maintain and enjoy, accommodate and adapt, acknowledge and conserve, and parks and conservation. So it really isn't specific to the type of use that you're seeing out there. It really is kind of more broad, but we do go into it more in the descriptions of the character areas. So the invest and improve character area, it's areas that there's already a high traffic volume over there. We're wanting to make sure that a high traffic volume is staying in that area. We're not wanting to expand it. You want to keep the infrastructure where it is, and you don't want it sprawling out. When you're looking at the maintain and enjoy, these are areas that are mostly built out, but they may just be a majority residential, some smaller scale commercial or retail spaces. Looking more at accommodate and adapt. So these are areas that are vulnerable to flooding, but may occasionally include new elevated surface structures. So in these areas, development is still occurring, but you're having to adapt to the changing environment. And you can still work around things and you can make it work. It's probably gonna cost a little bit more money though. And then going into acknowledge and conserve, this is our low-lying areas that are really not suitable for development. So they are areas where when you just get a little afternoon thunderstorm, it's wiped out, you're flooded, everything. And then in the document on page 46 of the plan, I know you don't have them in front of you, I apologize. So we go into a character area table, which kind of gives an example of the types of development that would be encouraged or discouraged in these areas. And definitely discouraged, it's not saying that they're not allowed, it's saying that it's not typically ideal. So going into some of the major recommendations, there are more recommendations in the document itself that I'm not touching on today, but these are kind of our top goals and recommendations that we have put forward. So as for public access, the town is doing really well with access to the beach. We're wanting to continue that and maintain those public access points and make sure that there is public access for the future. Considering additional locations for enhanced handicap accessibility, potentially opportunities for handicap access all the way to the water is very important and has been seen in communities across the country. Also continuing the beach wheelchair program and maintaining and improved sound side access. For land use compatibility, we're looking to reinforce Kitty Hawk's unique feel. The coastal identity is very valued by the community, and you want to have a high quality design standard for the area. So we're recommending an update of commercial and residential design standards to ensure that high quality design is going on throughout the community. There have been some items of contention before, which have prompted this through comments.
That ain't open wall. Can't say no. I don't know what that's up there for. That's what we're talking about, sorry.
So we're also going to encourage commercial development at appropriate scales, depending on the location. So we're wanting a larger scale along 158 and then a lower intensity of commercial along NC12. Going into housing, a lot of the residents are saying that they are wanting mostly single-family homes. That's great and that's wonderful, and so we're wanting to keep that going. We're also looking at any instances of medium or higher density development, and so in those cases, it is ideal to have design standards that regulate those types of uses. There is a potential for simplifying the zoning districts as well. There's a couple of repetitive or very similar districts between the beach and village side. So those could be condensed and simplified into about 4 or 5. Also encouraging attached, affordable, and workforce housing in or near the invest and improve area on the future land use map. These are some of the top challenges that we're seeing in the survey results, as well as public comments from anyone who attended the public meetings. Looking at mobility, people really wanted a safe way to get around Kitty Hawk, whether it was cycling or walking. People just wanted to get around and they want to be out and they want to be active. So we're looking at bicycle lanes, sidewalks, multi-use paths, and these are all potential projects that could be gone after in the future. There are also already some projects that are funded in the State Transportation Improvement Plan. Some of these top priorities, people wanted to maintain the existing relaxed coastal character through these facilities, so it's not anything crazy. They don't want to expand roadways like that. They just want to get around safely. You can see here we have a potential priority corridors map with the top priority being 158. People want to get around there, and these types are all the types of development for mobility, whether it's existing sidewalks or multi-use paths, bicycle lanes. It is all on page 59 of the plan as well. We are also looking at a local concern for wanting more recreational spaces that maybe aren't along the roadways. We have a great facility and piece of property here, so we've put together a conceptual design for a pavilion and trails here at Town Hall in this property, and that's not set in stone, just conceptual, and it could be something that could be gone after in the future. In looking at the infrastructure carrying capacity, it's really important to plan ahead for the future of where our vital infrastructure is. Our water lines, our power lines, everything, truly, we need to make sure that they are not at risk when we have large storms coming through. We want to make sure that they are in a place that is accepting for growth and for any type of uses that come in. We're already working on the RCCP grant project to identify areas of public infrastructure and facilities that would be impacted by natural hazards. More into the natural hazard areas, our recommendations are to continue beach nourishment and dune stabilization. I think right now the beach renourishment program occurs every 5 or so years, and so we're wanting to have that continue here in Kitty Hawk. We're also wanting to adhere to local and state building setback requirements, and that includes CAMA's setbacks for new development in the ocean hazard area of environmental concern, which is established through vegetation line, through the vegetation line and dunes, and as well as the erosion rate. One of the other local concerns that we provided a recommendation for was low impact development. There are areas such as Duck allowing for a lot coverage bonus where there is a low impact development project going on. So if someone can account for storm runoff or any sort of 100 or 500 year storm on their property, then they potentially have any sort of development bonus. And furthermore, this is not the entire chart. The entire chart is a couple pages long, and it goes through all the goals and implementations and policies and sorts them out by the CAMA priority topics and gives a timeline and has everything laid out all nice and pretty for you. And going into today, I'm here to answer any questions, have a discussion, and I hope that you all make a motion, whether it's to approve as presented, approve with edits, or to table. And then upcoming, we'll still send to DCMs for a completeness review and address any comments from them. So if you have any questions.
Council, any questions? Yes, sir.
I do. You use the word affordable quite a bit throughout your analysis.
Yeah.
You mind letting me know a little bit more about how you come up with that word for certain areas?
Yeah, so when talking about affordable housing, you're looking for housing for your police officers, your teachers, your residents who want to work here and also want to live where they work. It's just any typical person. It's someone like me, like someone who is trying to get by on a single income.
You guys make, I know every landscape's different in every town, but do you guys make those same recommendations, say in Southern Shores when you're doing theirs?
We make recommendations for anyone any project where they are coming up to us and saying, there's an issue for the common person and their ability to buy a home or find a reasonable property to rent. Because people do want to rent like long-term, like 1 year, 2 year leases. So we've provided that recommendations to different communities all across North and South Carolina.
Right, because a lot of the recommendations you guys make are based on citizens giving you questions and their concerns, right?
Yes. So there were multiple people who came up and said, I can't afford to live here because I'm a teacher and I love my students, but I can't live here and I have to move somewhere else where I will get paid more.
Right. All right, thank you.
Of course. Any other
Thank you, David.
questions?
Any further questions? Anyone here tonight would like to speak during this public hearing? It's not. Rob, is that it? Yep. Thank you. Council, if you don't have any further discussion here, I need a motion to go back into regular session.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Lynn. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay, council, what would you like to do in this matter? Need a motion? Anybody want to make a motion? If not, I'll do it again.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt the presented land use plan to serve as the town's comprehensive plan.
Thank you, Jeff.
Second.
Second by Lynn and Charlotte. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Thank you, council. Thank you, Jeff. Item 8A, need to schedule a public hearing, council.
Mr. Mayor, I move to set a public hearing at the town council meeting on October 2nd, 2023, to consider the proposed text amendment to section 42-581.
Thank you, Lynn.
Second.
Second by Charlotte. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Thank you. Any possible new business? We don't have any, do we, Melody?
Nope.
All right, comments from our time manager, Melody.
Well, I just have a few things to report tonight. We're excited that there is new toddler playground equipment at the Paul Pruitt Park on the Woods Road. It was just installed today, I believe. So we're in the process also of removing the lifeguard stands. The guarded stands season is over. The town will be providing 2 to 3 roving ocean rescue guards each day through October 15th. The last Saturday residential trash pickup between the highways is this Saturday, September 9th. We will resume our Monday, Thursday residential collection next week for the entire town. On-demand large item pickup will resume on Wednesday, September 20th. Fall chipping is scheduled for October 9th. For both of these things, for chipping and on-demand, you can visit the town's website for more information. The League of Women Voters is sponsoring a municipal election candidate forum. The Town of Kitty Hawk Forum will be held on Tuesday, October 10th at 7 p.m. It will be here at Town Hall. We will also be live streaming that on the town's YouTube page, and it will be recorded for viewing in the future. And lastly, the Outer Banks Hospital will be here on site Wednesday, October 25th between 1:30 and 4:30. They will be providing free flu shots for community members and employees. This year, they will also have their health bus, and they can provide wellness screenings, which include cholesterol, blood pressure, heart rate, blood sugar, and body mass. And those are all free services, and insurance is not required. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Melody. Casey?
Mayor, I've got nothing. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir. David?
I don't have a whole lot, but I would like to commend that young lady one more time if she's still here. I think she should get a day off of school now.
Maybe.
I told her she could serve all day tomorrow and take off school, but she said there was important things to do at school, but she had that.
Well, the good news is it still stays light a little bit longer.
That it, Dave?
That's it for me.
All I have to Violet, stay involved. You could be on council someday too.
Jeff?
I do. Greg Hamby was here, and we don't comment during public comment, and we hold it until our time to comment. And I would like to suggest that the police chief look into whether this is something that might be a good idea for coming off the foot of the bridge, or like it is, and maybe suggest it to DOT, and Melody, you and the chief can work together on seeing if that was something that they'd be willing to work with. I know they've done it on the other side because of some wrecks over there, and so maybe we could look into that. Also, I'd like to thank everybody from Kitty Hawk for showing up. I know most of every one of y'all sitting here. Violet, I love it just as much as you, trust me, or I wouldn't be up here. Wade, I don't know. You think you got it figured out? The water's coming up. I don't know. You sure we're not sinking? Anyway, it's the same thing. And so the point is tonight with me, it wasn't about a single development with me. With me, it was about our environment. It was about our water quality. It was about our runoff. It was about the changes that those of us that have lived here were seeing as we look across the street from our houses and see the change, and the change in the color of our water, the change in the smell some mornings. I was a supporter of allowing 404 because at the time 404 stayed dry 90% to 100% of the year. Now 404 holds water most all the time. Times have changed. With changes comes the decisions we had to make tonight, and it wasn't overshutting a development for me. And I heard Jimmy Ray, we're friends. Craig's been on that same property. We've all been on it. There's beautiful land on that property to be developed. But we all know how fragile that area is too. And so I just wanted everybody to know the reason, the way I voted, so that Mr. Scarborough, as well as everybody else, knows how I feel about it. It was about the water quality mainly. Density and height have always been an issue here, and we battled that and had it under control for years. But it's a new water quality. Mentioned a legend, as well as two of my best friends have passed away in very quick time. Whether it's natural or we're a part of it, I'm not sure. If we are, I'm sorry to those folks. But it's time. I heard the phrase, pump the brakes. I hope that's what we may have done here for you folks. That's all I have.
Thank you, Jeff Shaw.
I'd like to echo Jeff's words about everybody coming out tonight, and you make our job a lot easier when we know how you feel, and we appreciate that very much. I also know that we are getting ready to go into the hurricane season, and I had an opportunity to go and get a tour of the Dare County Emergency Management Center, and we are well prepared, I believe. And so I was very impressed with the equipment and the staffing, and the facility was amazing. So that should give you some comfort to know that they're on top of that. So, but that's all.
Thank you, Charlotte. Our summer is winding down. We're at the end. We've made it another year. Thanks to all the staff. A lot of people don't know our staff. We have the same number of public works, firefighters, police officers during the summer that we do as the winter. We don't increase in the summertime. So they have done a fantastic job this summer. Even our time staff. Our time staff in this building has done an excellent job. Melody, you know what I think. You've been wonderful. Thank you. Passionate crowd here tonight. Thank you for coming. Thank you for your enthusiasm. Thank you again for your respect during this governmental meeting. I'm getting ready to adjourn, but Violet, after I adjourn, would you and your mother please come forward? I would like to shake your hand. Okay? Okay, so if nothing else, I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned.